Like a vast emerald in a setting of waves, Sri Lanka attracts suitors both admiring and jealous. This island, just off the southernmost tip of India, has not been called the Tear of India in vain. The Tamils, originating from the Indian subcontinent, the country lying only 50 kilometers to the south, has always been a tempting lure. From ancient times, these invaders have become part of the island's mythology. First, settling in the north near Jaffna, the Tamils gradually forced the Singhalese islanders further and further south. They imported not only Tamil culture, but also Hinduism to the predominantly Buddhist Singhalese. Although a multiracial and multi-religious melting pot, the Tamils and Singhalese managed to live together in relative peace. However, in 1956, the Singhala Only law made Singhalese the country's official language. In due course, Buddhism was adopted as the state religion. Conditions became insufferable for the Tamils. Over time, the situation deteriorated to a point where pent-up tensions could no longer be suppressed, and a civil war began in 1983. One of the most brutal civil wars in human history. The Tamil Tigers rejected mediation proposals, for they all maintained Singhalese cultural, religious and linguistic dominance. Insurrection and guerrilla war followed, leading to the complete separation of the northern and eastern parts of the island from the rest of the country. The following 18 years saw over 100,000 people die, families lose homes, men and fathers, mothers lose children, some forced to join the Tamil Tigers at the age of 9. A team from the international Catholic charity Aid to the Church in Need went out to witness firsthand the harsh realities that confront the population.
It's the first project trip to Sri Lanka. After the 20-year-long war, we are now there to see what the needs are and the situation, especially in the north.
Surrounded by darkness, it is hard to believe in the light. On hearing about a massacre of 200 people in a bomb attack during prayers in this very church, it is hard to believe in God's mercy as these restored walls continue to bear witness to the mystery of suffering.
We have lost 4 priests in the rush in this eastern province, and the Mannar diocese has lost 1 priest. So all these priests who died have been victims of the war, and one especially, he was a leading person in the citizens committee, leading the civil society against violence, against war and so on. But he had to pay with his life. We have been subjected to terrible trauma, and I must thank the priests and the And the religious who have been withstanding this in spite of the problem, nobody ran away. Everybody stayed put in his parish.
Although many churches were destroyed, parishioners of this church no longer need umbrellas when attending Mass. Thanks to benefactors from aid to the church in need, they have a new roof, but many Sri Lankans still have no place to worship in.
We have seen also the bad situation of all these estate workers, where the majority of the Catholic population is. These people are more or less kept as slaves, with no education, very, very bad living facilities, but quite strong in their faith. There is a need for building small substations, small chapels, so that they can gather together and pray. And of course, there is also a big need of catechists, good trained catechists, to keep the community alive.
Catechists volunteer their time to work in even the remotest villages. But there are areas where the church has to cope with great hostility, where a catechist or priest is rarely welcome. It is to these areas that lay missionaries go.
Lay missionaries are those whom we have sort of posted or planted in the villages, where we don't have a single Christian. So they have been there trying to catechize people, and through preschools also, they sort of live among the Buddhists and others and introduce Christ and the gospel.
The weapons and inhumanity of war have scarred no one more cruelly than children. They saw much, too much. They lost their parents and their homes. In this orphanage they try once more to learn the meaning of love. To many children, God's love is made known through the Bible. In this instance, an edition of the Child's Bible, adapted to local cultural traditions, is brought to them by aid to the church in need.
The Child's Bible was really a blessing to our diocese, because the children do not read the big Bible, and with these pictures and so on, it is very attractive. And it is given in Singhala and Tamil, because in my diocese I need both media. It is very much appreciated. And then the children, I find that the children share these stories, Bible stories, with non-Christian children. You see, they share these stories, and that goes a long way.
Almost 70% of Sri Lankans are Buddhist, speak Sinhalese and live in the southern part of the island. 15% are Tamil Hindus from the north, and although a minority, they are better educated than their fellow citizens in the south. The remaining minority population is made up of Muslims and Christians. Christians, mostly Catholic, uniquely amongst the religious communities, retain a very significant presence amongst both the Sinhalese and Tamil communities. A new day dawns over the National Seminary at Kandy. Most Sri Lankan priests and bishops have been educated here. Today there are 300 students, both of Tamil and Sinhalese origin. Vocations amongst Sri Lankans are on the increase, with many students from poor families. But feeding 300 men remains no small challenge. The impact of war has not left the seminary unaffected. Heated discussions are frequent amongst former ethnic rivals, the pain of recent emotional upheaval caused by the loss of loved ones still too freshly imprinted on many minds.
We as a Christian community, I think we faced those situations and responded to such situations in a very mature way, because we also keep on motivating them that we have to look at this problem in a deeper way, and it's a matter that had to be solved by dialogue and negotiation and not by war.
Although a peace accord is in place, it remains tentative as tensions simmer and Sri Lanka's Catholics continue to suffer attacks from the Buddhist majority.
We had a little pocket of Catholics in a place called Hulandawa. That's a tea growing area, and all these people were the Tamils, Indian Tamils, who were working in the tea plantations. And they had no chapel. So we wanted to build a little chapel so that they could go for Mass. And otherwise, we were saying Mass in little homes here and there. So we started building up a little chapel, and instigated by the Buddhist monks. At night, they came and destroyed what we were building, completely razed to the ground. The second time, also we built it up. And the second time also they destroyed it. We did not want to give up. So we started again the third time.
The construction of new churches is often accompanied by Buddhist protests, born of a fear at the high rate of conversions to the Catholic faith. Official sources indicate that every year over 20,000 Buddhists convert to Christianity.
It's not so bad, I should say, because Christianity is spreading, and there are people who want to become Christians, but we don't take them immediately, we discourage, because, the people are waiting also to, point an accusing finger at us. We discourage them and examine their motivation before we begin catechizing them.
It will be centered around what? God-centered, no? Not me. God-centered on the one side. Then, my centering on God will lead me where? Not to me, but to others-centeredness.
It is a well-known truth that people fear the unknown. These students from different religious backgrounds are now engaged on a course of comparative religious studies so that they may learn to better understand each other's faiths.
what he is. They have a different outlook in life where their mentalities change towards religion. So much so, they do not have that aggressiveness and fundamentalistic approach to religion. And at the moment, after 6 years of teaching, we have formed small groups and cells that are working on interreligious dialogue. So we want to spread this message that with different religions coexisting in a place, people can live in peace and harmony.
The 200 Catholic students here all have but one dream: to pray in their own chapel.
Currently, we are having the masses and prayer meetings in the small lecture hall. So it is only free for about 1 hour, 45 minutes. So we'll have to cut down our prayer services to a shorter time. And also, one side, we are disturbing the students. If sometimes there are lectures in other halls, so we are disturbing, otherwise they are disturbing us. So if there's a separate place, we can do our prayers very much calmly. Now itself we collected a few money, about 40,000 by students, but that is not enough for us to build a chapel.
If the Catholic Church in Sri Lanka has survived through the atrocities of the war, it is due to the dedication of these women cloistered behind bars. At this Clarissan monastery, the sisters pray and work day and night for the realization of peace in their country, but there is still much to be done.
The church is in a great need. We didn't expect such a destruction. Everything has got to be rebuilt. Not only buildings, but also mentality. The people don't know each other anymore. They haven't been speaking with each other for the last 20 years. They are afraid of each other. And the church is playing a great role for reconciliation.
After 18 years of civil war, a tentative ceasefire was called. Today, dust covers the ground instead of blood. Long grass conceals the bomb craters, but peace remains fragile with an uncertain tomorrow.